Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. This is Nature Angel and today we are going to be talking about how kind of in your job, if you're a school psychologist, people can either try to make you do things that aren't really in your job description, or they just really don't know what you do. So this video is kind of like 3 things that I think are important so that you can stick to doing what you are supposed to do in your job as a school psychologist. The 3 things I'm going to talk about are: do not test every kid, do what's in your job description, and prioritize. So let's start with the do not test every kid, because I feel like this is so important and it happens so much. So when you're learning in school, there's the MTSS system where you have the tiers for how it's supposed to go. Like, everyone is in tier 1. If they need some help, this is like 10 to 15% of students. You're in tier 2, and then tier 3 is that intensive help, and that is the least amount of kids that should be in that category. And if that still doesn't help, that's when you might send them to try to get an IEP. You know, you might send them to try to get more support. Well, if you're in a school that doesn't have a good MTSS system, or just none at all, they might try to just get you to test kids that you're like, does this kid really need to be tested? And you have to try to put your foot down. I know it's a team decision, but we do not need to test every kid. I've been in situations where it's almost like they depend on me to test kids, but they don't have data from before. Like in Pennsylvania, for example, we would take the PSSAs growing up, and that would be data that would be used to see like how the school is going, and then there would be tests throughout the year to see, okay, are they meeting benchmark? Are they advanced? Are they proficient? Sometimes these kids don't even have that to see where they started in the beginning of the year, like in their class, and where they are now. It's just, oh, they're doing bad in their class. Let's try to send them and see if we can get them an IEP. And the point of an IEP is if they need special education. They cannot learn in the regular learning environment, and they need support for that. These kids, you know, they need that specialized instruction. And just because a kid is doing poorly in a class does not mean they need specialized instruction. Even if they're doing bad in all of their classes. Were they doing fine in the beginning of the year? Because if they were, did something happen? Also, right now, it's such a strange time because of COVID. So a lot of kids are not meeting where we would typically see kids at. But you have to remember, like, especially at my schools, these kids have not been in school for half of the year when they shut down, and then the whole year virtual, and every environment that they were learning in virtually is different per kid. So while some kids might have been thriving and it would have been the best, some kids might have not been doing anything and they just passed them on to the next grade. Well, now you're doing the next grade's work, but you still haven't learned all that happened the year before. So it looks like you aren't doing that well, and like you might need that specially designed instruction, but you don't. It's just you're behind from missing that year. So I think that's very, very important to make sure the team knows if they're trying to be like, okay, I think we should test. We'll try to get that evidence from the other teachers, try to get the evidence of throughout the year. And if they don't have it, well, then they need to try interventions. That's another big thing. Were any interventions tried? Like, there's so many things, and I feel like a lot of the time they try to push you to test, but stand your ground. Do not just test any kid. You don't want to just say this kid has that, this kid has that. Put in interventions, try that. And if it still doesn't work, and you have to make sure that interventions are done correctly and when they're supposed to be. So that's another thing. But if you tried everything, then okay, let's test the kid and see what we can do for them. But I feel like a lot of the time they just try to throw them in, and that's not how it should be. The second one is do what's in your job description. So I think I might have mentioned this in another video, but sometimes like people don't know what your job is, and especially if you're new, they might know what your job is, but depending where you're at, they might try to take advantage of you because you're new. So they might try to make you take notes in meetings where you're supposed to be listening. And I mean, if you're okay with that and that's like a one-time thing, then all right. But sometimes they might try to make you do it again and again and just make you like the note taker, where it's like, I'm here because I need to listen to what everyone else is saying. Meanwhile, you're probably also doing something else, like writing up something for this kid or writing your own little notes. You know, there's just a lot that we are constantly doing, and that could be a little like hassle. Another thing, substitution. With COVID, a lot of people were out and they needed substitutes, and there was a substitute shortage. So they started having people from other fields substituting a class. And I will say, as a school psychologist, you should not be substituting a class. We have so many things to do, and to watch a class all day, I could see for a little while, like I know sometimes when the teacher needed to go on break for lunch for like 20 minutes and they needed someone to watch their class during that time. If you have time and if you're comfortable with that, then okay, sure, go ahead. But don't make that a regular thing. That's not part of your job description. Trying to be a crossing guard. I know that, again, some school psychs like doing that in the morning, just like greeting the students, but that's not part of our job. Don't make that an all the time thing. These things are okay to do sometimes if maybe you have a slow day, slow week, or maybe it's the end of the year. You finished everything you're supposed to, so it's okay to help out. The last thing, the third thing, is prioritize your time. So like I was saying, we always have so many things that we have to do, and sometimes it might seem like we're being pulled in every direction, but we're one person. We cannot do everything. So we have to really prioritize what's most important, what do we need to get done, and can these other things be pushed off? Can I do them later? And that will all depend on your situation and your school and how it's set up, and deadlines, and just you as a school psychologist in your school and what you do. Like if you have a bunch of groups and, you know, obviously you're still testing, you have a bunch of kids to check in with. Well, maybe you had a crisis and now you can't check in with every kid, and you have a report that's not due for a couple weeks, but you might want to go check in with these kids, especially if they're really dependent on seeing you and maybe they were a crisis at one point. That is going to prioritize we're getting a report done that's due in a couple weeks, you know? So that's what I mean by prioritizing, and that can change every day. You have to be really flexible as a school psychologist, and if you don't think you're flexible, that's okay. That's something that you can learn with time. You really just have to get used to your school and how it works and how it's set up. So this video, I honestly don't even know how to categorize it. I just thought of it because I feel like in the schools a lot of the time, again, people don't know what we do, or they think that we're supposed to be doing one thing when we're actually not supposed to do that. That's not in our job category. And sometimes it's harmless, like they just really don't know. And other times it might be because they know, oh, you're new, let's see what we can get them to do that we don't want to do. Hopefully that's not the case, but it can be. It really depends. So I hope that this helps, just to kind of help you guys know what your focus should be, and don't be scared to be assertive, because remember, our job and what our focus is on is helping the kids, helping the students. So sometimes teachers might not like us, people might not like us because we're disagreeing with what they are saying, and it's in the best interest of the kid. Like some teachers might want the kids out of their classroom and put in special education classes just because they don't want to have to deal with them. But they need to be in the least restrictive environment. So taking them out could be harmful. And my focus is put them in the least restrictive environment, and that would be in your class. So while you might not like that, this is in the best interest of the child. And we can try to help you in the classroom with whatever problems you may have with this kid, but taking them out is not going to help. And they may not like you for saying that, but we need to be assertive, focus on the kid, focus on our job and what we're supposed to do as school psychologists, not things outside of that realm, and prioritize. And that's pretty much what the focus was of this video. So I hope that this video is helpful. As always, I am so happy you guys watch. If you have any ideas for any other videos I should do, even if I did one in the past, things change as time goes on, I learn more and more, just leave it down below and let me know, because I could always go for more video ideas. But until then, I'll just keep on trying to think of more things that will be helpful and things that I learn along the way as well. I'm just so grateful for you guys, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.